Survive, rebuild, inspire. The story of Tsutomu Yamaguchi. In the summer of 1945, Hiroshima was a city alive with promise. Streets bustled with merchants opening their shops, children laughing, and workers beginning their day. Among them was Tsutomu Yamaguchi, a 29-year-old engineer. He walked to the shipyard where he worked, his mind drifting to thoughts of his wife and infant son back home in Nagasaki. He was just days away from returning to them. But in an instant, everything changed. A sudden, blinding flash split the sky. A deafening roar followed as the ground shook violently. Tsutomu was thrown to the ground, his eardrums ruptured, his skin scorched by the unimaginable heat. Through the chaos, Tsutomu fought to stay conscious. He forced himself to move, his body screaming in pain, and crawled through the rubble searching for shelter. The next 24 hours were a blur of survival. Tsutomu's burns covered his body, and every step was agony. But he refused to give up. He found a shallow air raid shelter and spent the night listening to the cries of the injured and the haunting silence of a city destroyed. As dawn broke, he knew he had to leave Hiroshima. Despite his injuries, he began the grueling journey to the train station, pushing through debris and devastation. When he finally boarded a train heading to Nagasaki, he was weak, dehydrated, and in excruciating pain. Yet, even as his body faltered, his mind clung to a single thought: I have to see my family again. Each mile was a test of his resolve, but the memory of his wife's smile and his baby's laughter gave him the strength to endure. Tsutomu arrived in Nagasaki, collapsing at his home. His family was shocked to see him, his body covered in burns and his voice faint. He told them of the horrors he had witnessed in Hiroshima, hoping they could understand the danger. But fate was not finished testing Tsutomu. Just 3 days later, on August 9th, while at work in an office building, a second blinding flash lit up the sky. The bomb had been dropped on Nagasaki. The explosion tore through the city, and Tsutomu's building shook violently. Instinctively, he dived to the floor, shielding himself behind a desk as windows shattered and debris flew. Once again, he survived. The devastation in Nagasaki was as heartbreaking as Hiroshima. Fires consumed the city, and survivors wandered the streets, searching for loved ones. Despite his own injuries, Tsutomu limped through the ruins, calling out for his family. The search was agonizing, but finally, he found them, alive. Overwhelmed with relief, he embraced them, tears streaming down his face. In a world that had crumbled, their survival was his greatest victory. But survival was just the beginning. Tsutomu bore his physical and emotional scars for the rest of his life. He could have retreated into despair, but instead, he chose a different path. He dedicated himself to speaking out against nuclear weapons, sharing his story so that no one else would have to endure what he had. Tsutomu Yamaguchi's story is one of unimaginable loss, unyielding determination, and an unbreakable spirit. Despite facing the horrors of 2 atomic bombings, he survived. Despite his pain, he rebuilt. And despite his suffering, he inspired the world with his unwavering commitment to peace. Today, Hiroshima and Nagasaki are cities of hope, thriving with life and renewal. They stand as a testament to the strength of the human spirit. Tsutomu's journey reminds us that no matter how dark the times, we have the power to rise, to rebuild, and to inspire. Survive, rebuild, inspire.